What's going on, guys? So the topic of today's video is going to be bodybuilding.com's 2018 earnings report. It came out 2 weeks ago. There's a reason why it took a little bit longer to put out this video. I'm going to cover all of that at the end of this video, so make sure you guys do stick around. There's an actual reason. It wasn't just because I was busy or I forgot about it. There's kind of a reason why I was kind of waiting a little bit longer that you guys definitely want to listen to at the end of this video. But like I said, this is going to be 2018 earnings report for bodybuilding.com. Technically, it's Liberty Expedia Holdings. If you guys remember from videos I've done before on some of their quarterly earnings, also from a video about 4 to 6 weeks ago when I did kind of like the future of bodybuilding.com, what's kind of happening at the internet retailer. Liberty Expedia Holdings, that is kind of part of a bigger conglomerate, Liberty Media. Liberty Media has a stake in Expedia, the travel site that you guys probably use, or some of their other sites that are attached to Expedia for some of your travel. They kind of threw bodybuilding.com into that holding company. So this is a consolidated return. Because it's a consolidated return from a holding company, I don't have a lot of like the details on the expense level side of bodybuilding.com, because even the small, I think it's maybe 16% or so that they threw in with Expedia, that 16% is much larger than bodybuilding.com, so I'm not even able to like really trace it in a effective manner. So we're going to be talking mostly in this video on kind of the revenue side. We're also going to be talking about some challenges, struggles they put in the earnings report, and then what actually I translate that into, or what is actually happening in the internet retailer. So let's get into this kind of numbers part of this. If you look at 2018 as a whole, bodybuilding.com did $226 million in revenue, in top line revenue. That is actually down 23% year over year from 2017. 2017, they had a revenue of $292 million. But if we even look back another year, 2016, they had $411 million. So from 2016 to 2018, they've essentially lost about half of their business. And even if you look at just the quarter, they had about $45 million in revenue. Traditionally, nutritional supplements, and especially sports nutrition, which I'll talk about kind of how skewed bodybuilding.com is with that. Fourth quarter is usually the slowest quarter. There is a small amount of seasonality that goes on with the business. Quarter one is always the strongest. You have people that are kind of starting up diets and really getting focused on their goals. By the time the end of the year kind of comes around, people are focused on holidays. They're focused on getting through the year. They're not so much focused on those goals they kind of set at the beginning of the year. It's just a natural seasonality that happens with nutritional supplements, especially the sports nutrition side of nutritional supplements. And like I said, the makeup of bodybuilding.com's revenue at this point, it does come from about 80% sports nutrition. And of that 80%, about 40% is protein. And then the next two categories are pretty equal. That is pre-workouts is about 16%, and then post-workouts, which is about 15%. Now, from the $226 million in revenue, they actually had an operating loss of $85 million. So regardless of how much cost cutting they've been doing, selling their headquarters and leasing that back, throughout the year having a lot of job cuts and letting people go, cutting a lot of programs, different things like that, they still are running at a pretty steep operating loss for the year. Their loss reasoning it's been kind of consistent throughout the year. If you look at all their quarterly earnings, there's not much variance in terms of what they're talking about in their reports, but they're saying that about a 28% decrease in store visits. There's a 25% decrease in order volumes. They've said, shipping costs have increased, and I think that's just across any stakeholder within the physical retail side is dealing with kind of shipping cost increases. They're also kind of noting that their advertising revenue is down. And one thing I'd like to maybe throw a little bit of a positivity towards a super negative area is that, if your revenue is down around that 25% mark year over year, but your store visits and your order volumes are kind of down around the same, you still are getting kind of the same conversion rate. So the people that are coming to your site, bodybuilding.com's site, is actually still converting at a pretty consistent level. So the issue is more off of creating traffic over the, some aspect of the purchase checkout process or different things like that. So, small positive in a very negative area. But regardless, these numbers are bad. You guys know when I speak, I speak about numbers this big and this bad. I try my hardest not to harp on them because that's not my goal in any of these videos. But I need to report on the facts, black, white. I come from finance and accounting background, so I don't like to gloss those numbers over. So that's what they are. Let's kind of dive into what bodybuilding.com thinks is happening. Like in the report, what are they talking about? And the annual report is better than some of the quarterly reports because they make a lot more commentary towards certain maybe challenges, threats, opportunities, different things like that in the market. So let's kind of dive in to see what bodybuilding.com was talking about, and I'll add some extra insights and kind of relevant conversation around some of those if I believe maybe they're a little bit off target. So in terms of like the competitive landscape, bodybuilding.com believes that 6 competitive landscape challenges that they need to focus on to change the trajectory of their business. They're saying, direct search is down. The issue with direct search, and something I've talked about in multiple videos, is that, we're talking about first product search. In terms of like internet retailers, you're looking at like where the first product searches are going. And 50% of them are going to Amazon. Amazon has now become bodybuilding.com's biggest competitor. This has been going on for 4 to 5 years. I say, now in the context of that time period, they're winning 50% of the first product searches. So people are going straight to Amazon to purchase. And at this point, even 30% of the purchasing of vitamins, minerals, and supplements category is happening on Amazon. Nobody else, like 30% is not going anywhere else but Amazon. So bodybuilding.com is going against a lot of very strong behavioral trends that's happening in the market right now. That is going to continue to cause them trouble if they can't find some creative, innovative way to get around it. Their effectiveness with SEO and SEM, search engine optimization or search engine marketing, has been down, or the cost has been rising. And that's partly because there's more disseminated information that's out on the web now. A lot of social media influencers, a lot of people are putting out content that is also valuable. There's just a ton of different sources that you can go to now. You don't need to go to bodybuilding.com anymore. And because of that, if they want to get ranked up in certain places, or they want to make sure they get the right amount of eyeballs or more kind of traffic towards their site, they need to either pay more, or they are kind of struggling at the whims of just natural, organic search engine optimization tactics and trying to figure out how do we rank as high as we can on the appropriate general or specific keywords. They're also kind of noting just more direct competition. Amazon's obvious, the other kind of specialty retailers, GNC, Vitamin Shop, those are obvious as well. But they're also kind of making notes about like food, drug, mass convenience, building out their better for you platform or better for you merchandising sections. They're adding more square footage to more healthier options. Also just the context of what is sports nutrition is changing. Those kind of more functional foods, functional beverages, different kind of convenience applications are definitely causing hurt to businesses that are really focused on caps, powders, pills, different things like that bodybuilding.com is really set up for success with. So they're kind of noting that as well. That's going to be a trend that continues. Bodybuilding.com has retracted a lot of their kind of distribution centers and things like that. So they don't really have the ability to be a beverage distributor. We also are working something kind of counterintuitive with protein bars and functional foods because you have to buy in cases where there's not that trial that you get the ones and twosies like you do at a convenience store or at a grocery store. I think a lot of the SKUs do sell ones and twosies on bodybuilding.com, but that's not really the purchasing habit online, and people that are buying ones and twosies are looking for point of purchase. They're looking for quick consumption. They're going to buy those things at a convenience store, at a grocery store when they see them right in front of their face. Like I said before about Amazon, they're also noting that as a competitive challenge in the landscape. Amazon is really upping their focus on the category. That's their biggest consumables subcategory, also within the biggest consumables category of Amazon. The health and kind of personal care section is bigger than grocery at this point. And Amazon's business in the nutritional and wellness subsection of that is growing about 50% year over year. And this is on a base of over $2.5 billion right now. So Amazon is ramping up. They have been ramping up. This has been causing direct impact to bodybuilding.com's business for a long time. And it's going to continue to do that in the next couple of years, as Amazon's not going to stop on focusing on categories they know they can make money on. They're also saying that with their paid online subscription, their media company that they're building, they also see some competitive landscape challenges there as well. I think they're saying most of that's kind of coming from, social media influencers, online, different areas, social media, people building out their own platforms to create some of that unique media-rich content. And they're saying, this is going to be one of those things they're going to be butting up continuously against. Talking about influencers, they also make a note, and I found this one to be probably one of the most unique ones that I've seen. They're making a note about the barriers of entry being so low, and not necessarily just from a perspective of just like the long tail brand creation, a lot of just what's really driving Amazon's growth in the category, but they're noting it more towards like fitness influencers and different athletes and things that normally would be working with bodybuilding.com to just kind of be one of their athletes and sell, but they are actually going out and making their own products, selling their own products, marketing their own products. They're not going to a bodybuilding.com to muddy the waters unless their products are sold at bodybuilding.com as well. And they're kind of just going out and monetizing their own personal brand over using that personal brand to elevate bodybuilding.com's brand. So bodybuilding.com is making a note and saying like, this is a problem. We're noticing this. This is something that is definitely affecting, both probably the traffic or attention that's getting towards the retailer from those athletes and influencers sending their traffic over there, but also just from a standpoint of like, lost revenue, lost direct sales coming from that, because a lot of these influencers and athletes are directly talking to their audience and saying, hey, buy straight from me. That following is responding to the point where a couple $100 million businesses are noticing this as something that's definitely a challenge and has been a challenge this year for their business. Now, to end this video, I talked about it right at the beginning of the video. I was going to have some commentary of why I did not put out this video right when they put out the earnings report 2 weeks ago, like I normally do. And this was surrounding some of what I kind of talked about in my What's the Future of Bodybuilding.com video. One of the comments that I made around there, and also I made around one of my predictions for some of the business side of the industry, was that Bodybuilding.com was going to change hands somehow in ownership this year. And what I'm kind of talking about here, and I'm not going to try to get too far into the weeds here. If you guys are interested in this side of business in this world, you guys can obviously dig into it and kind of look at some of the articles that are written on, maybe Bloomberg or Barron's or different things that they're talking about. But Expedia asset that was purchased partly by Liberty Media, John Malone, the kind of the chairman owner, he created this holding company that had this kind of interest in there. So at this current state, like if you wanted to invest in Expedia because you believe the Expedia asset is good, you can either buy Expedia, that has its own stock ticker, or you can buy this Liberty Expedia Holdings that has a portion of it and also has a lot more bigger portion of voting shares. So the owner of Expedia, Barry Diller, is kind of saying, hey, I'd like to take this Expedia asset and put them all back to whole so the investment community can evaluate the business better. We think there's some more value out there for this Expedia name, and because there's kind of two ways to invest in it, there's the majority Expedia stock ticker, and then there's minority Liberty Expedia Holdings that has the bodybuilding.com name into it. Those are obviously two different entities. Barry Diller owns his own kind of companies, holding companies, things like that. And then you have John Malone owns his own holding companies and a ton of different things with Liberty Media. So these are two different things we're talking about here. They want to put them together. So Expedia wants to do a stock swap with John Malone and Liberty Media to take that and kind of put it wholly and create a wholly owned entity that is Expedia only. And they've been talking about this, and they're supposed to have a vote about this. They've been like they were saying, in a week or something like that. So I was trying to wait a little bit, but it just kind of it's not coming out. So I just want to make sure these are timely numbers and things that people want to hear about. So I don't want to like wait months before this kind of comes out. But if something like that does come out, I'll make sure that, follow along. I'll probably put something, I'll definitely put something out if it trickles down into bodybuilding.com. But regardless, follow my other social media where I post a lot more frequently, multiple times a day about different kind of business things. They're all linked down below if you guys do want to do that. I think it's probably a good idea if you guys are interested in this topic. But basically, they're trying to create a transaction before there's this period, and I think it's in May, where there's some type of deal that happened with like the proxy votes that with these voting shares that John Malone owns and how those will be shifted, like kind of confusing things that are going on with that side. But they're trying to get a transaction ahead of that May timeline that was in an original contract when they did the acquisition. So something's going to happen around the May timeframe, probably before that. And what I'm kind of seeing here is if Expedia completes the stock swap and they're kind of wholly owned, like what happens with that bodybuilding.com name? Does it somehow come along with that deal? Does it get dropped off? If it does get dropped off, what does Liberty Media, the big conglomerate, do with it at that point? Do they think, hey, we got a lot of losses in this, we've gotten all the tax benefit out of this, what do we do with it? We don't really want to reinvest or restructure, we don't have the right people in house or the right resources, or we don't want to throw good money at bad money, we're kind of done with this. Those are all the things that are probably going through their head at this point, and why I talked about this months and months ago about what's the future, what's going on, and why I think a transaction sometime this year is going to happen. So we'll kind of see what's happening. This is kind of a big thing that could potentially happen with nutritional supplement industry, like who would be potentially interested in this, to maybe like private equity or somebody would run it, who would run it, how would it be run, would it go back to growth? There's tons of different things you can kind of consider with this. Regardless, kind of a big thing to kind of take a note of, and kind of why I delayed this, and also why I found it kind of important to talk about this at the end of the video. So hopefully you guys got some value out of this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any questions about this particular topic, make sure you guys do comment below, or follow me on one of my social media accounts and message me there. But if you guys did get some value, I'd appreciate it a ton if you guys gave me the thumbs up button. It's just right down below while you guys are watching this video. It really helps me out a ton. I don't think you guys understand how much it does help me with YouTube. They understand that you guys got value. My videos are valuable. They spread my videos out to a ton of other people. That helps me get more subscribers. That helps me to get stronger, helps me provide more knowledge to people, which is my ultimate goal in all of this. So just want to thank you guys one last time for giving me some of your time, giving me some of your attention. Hopefully I gave you guys some value in return for that. But I'll see you guys on the next video.